right, guys. We're at war with Iran. You know why? So we can destroy the recently destroyed nuclear weapons program. That's awesome. Not even oil. Nothing. It's just for, it's a cover-up. There's still the same cabal of satanic pedophiles as running the country, and now they've destroyed another country and possibly embroiled us into a very long, forever war. Trump says that we can fight wars forever. Not to mention, apparently, Trump is anointed by God to bring about the end times and Armageddon so Jesus Christ can return. Hey, bud. I read the Bible recently, a couple times. I don't think that the ones who bring about the Armageddon are the ones who are going to be treated well by the Messiah. The Prince of Peace, I believe he's called. I don't know. I'm not sure, though. I don't know anything at all. They're willing to do anything to make us forget about the Epstein files, all right? Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton have been testifying before their enemies, it seems like, over the Epstein files. Bill Clinton's been looking, all right, reminiscing, smiling at photos of him and Epstein together. I hate the people who have what seems like all the power in this country. This is not a war that has anything to do with us or anything to do with our day-to-day lives. It's not. It objectively is not. There is zero danger in Iran. The intelligence shows that there is no threat of nuclear Armageddon from Iran. If anything, it's a little beside them. Or France or something. I don't know. But it's not them. We destroyed their whole leadership in like 6 hours, dude. Still working on a video about the point of all that stuff, by the way. The central banks, the Rothschilds, and the creature of Jekyll Island. Maybe that'll be in like 3 or 4 weeks. Hopefully the war will end. But today, we're gonna continue talking about the Epstein files, and specifically the investigation that nobody's really talked about. I'm sorry if you don't want me to talk about this anymore, but they have resorted to war to cover all this stuff up. So that's pretty crazy. In December of 2010, the DEA opened an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, not for sex trafficking, but for drug trafficking and money laundering. The DEA deals obviously with drugs, but also money laundering. They called it Operation Chain Reaction, and over the next 5 years, they tracked approximately $50 million in suspicious wire transfers through bank accounts in Switzerland, France, the Cayman Islands, and New York. They identified 15 targets, and Epstein was number 4 on the list. The other 14 names are still redacted. Like everybody else, is there a person besides Ro Khanna, Thomas Massey, and a couple other people? Honestly, there's like maybe 10 people who are actually trying to do stuff in Congress right now. Oh, by the way, you gotta ask Congress permission to declare war, but we don't live in that country anymore, I guess. Anyways, back to the Epstein files. This DEA investigation pulled in help from the FBI, ICE, Customs and Border Protection, and FinCEN. 69 pages of financial intelligence, shell companies, border crossings, criminal histories, all compiled under one case number, OFC TP15-12392. And then it stopped. No charges filed, no public disclosure. It was so completely buried that in 2019, when federal prosecutors in Manhattan arrested Epstein for sex trafficking, they told CBS News that they were entirely unaware the DEA had been investigating him for half a decade. 5 years of work, $50 million in wire transfers, 14 other names, and the people who finally put him in handcuffs didn't even know that any of this existed. And this is a trope, by the way, among American law enforcement, federal law enforcement, and American intelligence. These agencies don't work together fundamentally. I've heard it described that their computer systems don't work, and it's not possible to communicate with someone from, the FBI can't talk to the CIA. That's what caused 9/11. If you were unaware of that, who knows what actually was the cause in all reality, but our intelligence agencies, their inability to communicate and their pride and ineffectiveness, they knew it was gonna happen, pretty much. Or I guess they had an inkling, but I'm not sure, I wasn't there. I wasn't dancing on the street. Last week, a United States senator gave the DEA until March 13th, just a couple days from now, to hand over those names and explain what happened to this investigation. Can you imagine that? All of this money, this big name, Jeffrey Epstein, this guy's going down, and then there's just another investigation that just nobody's even heard of? Sex trafficking, implicating every powerful person. Is it all nonsense? That's what they're trying to lead us to believe, is that it's all nonsense. But unfortunately, it's not nonsense, guys, and now we're at war with Iran. Fortunately, Greenland still exists and is not ours yet. It's so mind-boggling that this is the lengths that this and basically every other administration that has been around in the government since the 90s, this is the lengths that they will go to try to avoid this. It's making my back sprout hair right now as we speak. You can hear it if you listen closely. Hear that? That's me becoming a man. I've been working out a lot lately. All right? Not really. I haven't at all. I've just been on steroids. So you're going to see a glow up really soon. You're going to see a glow down in the hairline and a glow up in the body fat muscular percentages or whatever. To understand why a United States senator is demanding answers from the DEA, you need to see what is actually in this document we're talking about. The memo was prepared by the director of something called the OCD ETF Fusion Center, dated May 18th, 2015. And OCD ETF stands for Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Forces, which is a pretty cool name. That's me trying to pronounce it. And that is an important name, by the way, because it's not a local police unit. It's not old Bobby Dark Chocolate and the Rotten Boys cruising around in their cruisers, hunting down ladies of ill repute. It's not that. It's also not a single agency tip line. OCD ETF Octative is the federal government's top-level organized crime apparatus. It was created by presidential order in 1982 and specifically designed for cases that cross state borders, national borders, and cases that involve multiple criminal enterprises and require coordination between agencies. Because for some reason, the agencies don't coordinate. When OCD ETF opens a case on someone, it means the federal government believes that that person is running an international criminal operation. So, you know, when I go to jail really soon, you'll see why. The memo itself was buried for weeks. Then on January 30th, the DOJ released the 3.5 million pages of the Epstein files. And I saw a couple people talking about it, but on February 23rd, CBS News reporters Daniel Rudnick, Pat Milton, and Kara Kabachnik, they published what they'd found somewhere in that big old dog shit pile of papers. What the document we're talking about, and that they were talking about, contains is a detailed financial map of Epstein's operation. The memo reads, DEA reporting indicates the above individuals are involved in illegitimate wire transfers which are tied to illicit drug and or prostitution activities occurring in the U.S. Virgin Islands and New York City. Now, the words that I'm using, the language that was chosen for this, we should think about it for a moment. The DEA isn't just tracking wire transfers as some kind of abstract financial, what is that thing called? When you investigate somebody, CSI, crime scene investigation, fiscal, no, fiduciary, no, I'm gonna think of it. Financial illicit. Larry Johnson is a fiscal financial forensic. This isn't a part of some abstract financial forensics exercise. I don't even think that's the right usage. What a waste of time. They believe this money was directly connected to criminal operations, drugs, and prostitution running between the Virgin Islands and Manhattan. And they believed Epstein was at the center of this operation. The document identifies two shell companies by name. The first shell company is Hyperion Air Inc., a Delaware-registered aircraft holding company headed by a fellow by the name of Darren Indike. Very important name. Indyke has been Epstein's personal attorney since 1996, the year of the rat. And according to CBS, both named shell companies in the memo were formed and controlled by Indyke, but an attorney for Indyke told CBS News that his client did not socialize with Epstein and rejected any suggestion that Indyke knowingly facilitated or assisted in Epstein's crimes as categorically false. The second company that was named is SLK Designs LLC. It is described as a fashion entity run by two women who were included in Epstein's 2008 non-prosecution agreement and named as potential co-conspirators. Those same two women were questioned in 2010 about Epstein's relationship with the then Prince Andrew. No longer, guys. Hey, other countries are doing something about it. Well, I guess we killed Epstein in prison. So we killed him. We killed that guy. Bill Clinton thinks he died, but Bill Clinton doesn't remember a lot of stuff. Now, there is a third company that appears in the memo, but the name is completely redacted. The financial red flags documented in the investigation are specific. There are 7 unified suspicious activity reports totaling $5.67 million, 8 currency transaction reports totaling $233,000, and 3 unified currency transaction reports, which are another $103,000. You can see them. They mean basically nothing to me, but to put that into context, a suspicious activity report gets filed when a bank believes a transaction may involve illegal activity or money laundering. 7 of those reports on one network of people totaling nearly $6 million is very significant. Probably in my opinion, but maybe in others as well. Is $6 million of potentially illegal activity significant? But it's just the fraction that triggered the formal red flags. The total volume that the DEA was tracking was $50 million. It gets stranger. The investigation also pulled in agencies you wouldn't necessarily expect beyond the DEA, FBI, and ICE. The memo documents involvement from the U.S. Attorney's Office in St. Thomas, and notably, the Harvard University Campus Police and the Virgin Islands Police Department. There were 8 separate agencies contributing intelligence to uno caso. Now, the status of the investigation as of May 2015, which was 11 years ago, is listed as judicial pending. And law enforcement officials told CBS News during their investigation that that designation typically means agents were awaiting court approval for search warrants or that an arrest had been made. So they're, making some level of progress. So after 5 years of tracking tens of millions of dollars in suspicious transfers through shell companies in 4 countries, coordinating 8 agencies and compiling 69 pages of intelligence, the investigation hadn't stalled. It was moving toward legal action. Something was pending before a court. Then nothing happened, obviously. No indictments, no arrests came from this investigation, no public disclosure that it ever existed. There were 4 years of silence between that memo in 2015 and Epstein's arrest in July of 2019. And the federal prosecutors who ultimately charged him had no knowledge of any of this work. 5 years of multi-agency investigation that produced nothing except a 69-page document that sat in a classified file until 3.5 million pages got dumped at once and some reporters with CBS found it. Are you kidding me, dude? Obviously, this is a cover-up. All these people are involved at every branch of the government, every point in which someone can say, hey, hold off on that, don't investigate that. Alan Dershowitz on Piers Morgan said that he would have been able to get Epstein off if he was Mossad.
I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, he was an intelligence source, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all.
Do you understand how insane that is? It's so insane that if you understand it, your name is going to be searched in Google Trends in Israel by the end of this video. It is crazy how corrupt our system is. There are secret societies all around us. We are not a part of it. I'm not a part of it. But I'm just like every day, oh wait, that's actually true? I was holding out. I thought maybe people were good. I thought that maybe there wasn't an evil satanic cabal of pedophiles controlling our Ponzi scheme. I knew it was a Ponzi scheme. It was built that way. We'll get into it eventually in another video. But Everybody? Really? Everybody? And now we're at war with the country? Spend that money on like people in America, maybe. I don't know, man. It's just getting harder to lie, I think. I think it's just getting harder to lie. It reminds me of that video of the dude who, I think he goes before George Bush, and he says that your lies, he starts screaming at George Bush, and he says, your lies killed 1 million Iraqis. I went to war over a lie.
You sent me to Iraq in 2003. My friends are dead. You killed people. You lied. You lied about WMD. 1 million Iraqis are dead because you lied. My friends are dead because you lied. You need to apologize.
It makes me emotional thinking about it, because that guy's like, I mean, he knows. He knew then. And he probably was swept up into all this MAGA stuff and like this peace and, well, I shouldn't say that. He probably wasn't. He's probably not a idiot. I just trashed that guy accidentally. There's certainly a lot of people who knew that, who were like, oh, yeah. This system's bad and we need to drain the swamp. Get all these out of here, man. Let's start a new thing. No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. We're doing the same exact thing. It's the same. It's literally the same thing. And now an entire country has declared jihad on us. So like, I don't know what, I don't want that. In Lebanon, the land of my ancestors is being invaded. For what reason? Nuclear programs, guys. They got nuclear programs in there, all right? And they're really close to having a bomb. Really close to being able to launch a hypersonic super missile. I don't know who's better at propaganda. I don't understand. I'm really confused. Keep an eye out for false flags, though. Like, let's be real. That's going to be a thing. That's legit. That's actually a legit thing. I don't believe anything that I see now. I've come apart at the seams. I don't think that these people are humans, to be honest with you. I feel a deep sadness when I look at the news. A deep sadness when I'm monitoring the situation. Anyways, back to the Epstein files. $50 million in suspicious wire transfers. That is what the Department of Eating Ass was tracking. While they were following $50 million, the banks were processing something much, much larger and much stranger. In October of 2025, Representative Jamie Raskin, a ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, sent letters to the CEOs of 4 major banks demanding records related to Jeffrey Epstein. And what those records showed was more than $1.5 billion in suspicious financial transactions across 4 institutions. We can start with JP Morgan Chase. JP Morgan maintained 134 separate accounts for Epstein and his network of entities. And between May 2003 and September of 2008, while Epstein was actively trafficking women and girls and being a pedophile, JP Morgan filed 0 suspicious activity reports. During that same period, Epstein withdrew more than $3.5 million in cash from those accounts. And in 2003 alone, over $175,000, money that, according to court documents, was used to pay child victims. By 2025, cash withdrawals had exceeded $1.7 million, and according to a Senate investigation, JP Morgan's former CEO of private banking, a man named John Duffy, actually counseled Epstein on how to structure his cash withdrawals to avoid triggering reporting requirements. Bro, what? What Duffy was advising has a specific name in federal law. It's called structuring, and it is a felony under 31 USC 5324. Who gives a f? It's illegal, though. So f this guy and f all his friends. That's right, guys. A senior bank executive teaching a client how to commit a federal crime with his own accounts. Nobody at JP Morgan was ever charged. Was JP Morgan was that the bank that took the fall in 2008? Was somebody there charged? I forget who that was. That's a different video, though. A 2006 internal rapid response team memo shows the bank already had the picture. They already knew, and they were counseling him on how to not get caught. Epstein's accounts held balances totaling $32 million, with cash withdrawals being made routinely in sums of $40,000 to $80,000 multiple times a month. The bank knew all of it. I can't transfer money without them calling me and being like, why are you transferring money? Why are you transferring money for your candy company to pay your fucking payroll and What? I'll strangle you. Just kidding. It's just some random customer service. Poor woman. I do yell at her, though. She knows what to expect now. It's also not true. I'm sorry, I lied. But I do have a candy company if you guys want to support Sour Boys. I've got some bags here. I don't know if you can even see them. These are old bags. I'm not very good at promoting myself, unfortunately. We also have a mobile game that I made. You can play the mobile game to get free candy. And yeah, we do 4 flavors a month. There's sour fruit gummies that look like this, and there's sour belts that look like this. We have a couple new things coming very soon. It's just us. It's my wife and I. We run the whole thing. And by that, I mean we own it. I have my friends and family actually doing the real work, the operations and the labor and stuff like that. So I'm not going to pretend. I make decisions and I like sign off on art and stuff like that. I don't really do that much. So if you guys want to buy some candy, support the channel, support the team, I would really appreciate it. And yeah, I guess I have to say that I own the company. I think I've mentioned that multiple times. I'm the founder of Sour Boys. I founded Sour Boys. Anyways, back to the Epstein files. The decision to keep him came from the top in regard to all of these transactions and withdrawals that were illegal. A 2011 internal due diligence document states, quote, Jess Staley conferred with Stephen Cutler and the decision was made to keep Mr. Epstein as a PB client. Jess Staley ran JP Morgan's private banking client and investment decision. He exchanged more than 1,000 emails with Epstein from his JP Morgan email account, corresponded with Epstein while he was incarcerated, and visited his residence in the Virgin Islands on multiple occasions. Court filings allege the communications used the phrase Disney princesses as a code for young women. So basically, that disgusting. But wait! Staley was not the only executive in regular contact with Jeffrey Epstein. Mary Erdos, CEO of JP Morgan's Asset and Wealth Management Division. Isn't that what JP Morgan is? Isn't that like the CEO of the whole thing? Anyways, Mary was in what the Senate described as near constant contact with Epstein in 2010 and 2011. On August 17th, 2011, Erdos emailed Epstein from vacation in Maroon Bells, Colorado, with structured questions about a donor-advised fund involving the Gates Foundation, CCing Jess Staley. She was working through it on her time off, guys. She was really good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. So many people were such good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Why? Why? Have you seen him? He's hideous. He's hideous. And he's got that just unbelievably over-the-top cartoon accent. And also the whole going to jail thing. Like, I don't want to be friends with a. Is that just me? No, I think that's normal, actually. I think it's normal to not want to be friends with that guy. I didn't know! I knew. And I was like 10 years old. Sorry, 12. In 2023, JP Morgan settled with the trafficking survivors. $290 million to them, $75 million to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and a total of $365 million. But in classic U.S. justice system, you can settle without admitting any liability. Isn't that crazy? That just seems so crazy to me that that's a thing. If I was ever, I mean, that's just like, I don't understand. I'm an idiot, I think. I think I'm a cave person. Sometimes I see stuff and I'm like, I don't comprehend that and I can't. I mean, I get out, I don't understand. I have the ability to use empathy and you know, work through things virtually in my mind. I can think, but like, no. I'm not gonna eat this right now. That's what it would be like. If I accepted that I'm going to eat this, chew it up and eat it and swallow it. That's what it would be like. And I'm not gonna do that, okay? I'm not gonna understand it. I don't wanna understand it. It's like my sister in algebra. She couldn't understand it. She cried a lot. All right? She cried a lot. So while Epstein was alive and actively trafficking, JP Morgan flagged transactions adding up to about $4.3 million. After he died, the bank went back and filed retroactive suspicious activity reports covering $1.3 billion in transactions dating all the way back to 2003. 4.3 million flagged while he was alive and chit-chatting with the execs, and 1.3 billion after he was dead. That's 300 times more reported after there's nobody left to prosecute. He's dead. In October 2025, JP Morgan's response to the Senate Finance Committee was, quote, With the exception of Jess Staley, the bank's executives acted with integrity. They threw that guy under the bus. So John Penis Morgan paid $365 million in 2023 and admitted nothing, but they weren't the only bank. Deutsche Bank opened over 40 accounts for Epstein and his entities between 2013 and 2018, and they took him on as a client after JP Morgan had already cut ties. And among those accounts was something called the Butterfly Trust, an entity, NYDFS, that investigators suspected was the primary vehicle for trafficking-related payments. Its trustees were Darren Endike and Richard Kahn, both attorneys of Epstein. When compliance officers asked about the purpose of transfers to women with Eastern European surnames, Epstein and his lawyers gave what Representative Raskin later called far-fetched answers. Tuition and rent for Epstein's friends. The bank accepted them. Cash withdrawals exceeded $800,000, and the conditions imposed by Deutsche Bank's own reputational risk committee were never actually transmitted to the team managing the accounts. And when regulators finally investigated, they found that very few problematic transactions were ever questioned, and the ones that were usually cleared without a satisfactory explanation. Meanwhile, people who have small businesses get audited. Yep, they only act on people who are bad. You've heard the saying, if the bank, you owe the bank $5, they won't give you the money to go to lunch. If you owe the bank $5 billion, they'll buy you lunch. You've heard that saying, I'm sure. It's a very famous saying among rich people. It's kind of how it is in real life. If you have a lot of money, they want to investigate your crimes. If you're friends with all of them and you're all involved in it together, you're all like heavily implicated in it, and the names are still redacted, they're not going to investigate your crimes. And if you're a Mossad, they just you know, they wouldn't even care. Boom. Name Israel search, quick. The New York State Department of Financial Services fined Deutsche Bank $150 million in July of 2020, which was the first enforcement action by any regulator against any financial institution for dealings with Epstein. Then there were the other two banks. The Bank of New York Mellon filed suspicious activity reports covering $378 million in payments years late. The Bank of America, which filed just 2 delayed reports covering $170 million tied back to transactions with Leon Black, the former CEO of Apollo Global Management, one of the largest private equity firms on planet Earth, who personally paid Epstein over $150 million in advisory fees. Add it all up, guys. Add it all up. I'm not adding it up. I'm not keeping track of this shit. That's Tara's job. Thank you, Tara. The Treasury file that this Senator Wyden, uncovered documented 4,725 wire transfers totaling approximately $1.1 billion, flowing in and out of just one of Epstein's bank accounts. Some of those transfers ran through Russian banks that are now under U.S. sanctions, by the way, because we all know that Russia did this. This was a Russian operation. Right? No. Unfortunately, no. That'd be a lot simpler and less scary. So the DEA tracking 50 million? Actual volume moving through Epstein's banking network was at least 1.5 billion. The bank saw it, they processed it, didn't do nothing about it. Classic. I hesitate to say, it gets worse. It gets even worse somehow, and stranger, even stranger, and more bizarre. The DEA, not the first. That's what the 2015 memo reveals when you read past the financial data. Buried in the Operation Chain Reaction document, the OCD ETF Fusion Center compiled a list of prior federal investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. There were 4 others. The first was ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, out of West Palm Beach, opened in 2006. That is the same year the Palm Beach police were building their own case against Epstein, the same period when the FBI was conducting its initial probe. The ICE investigation ran for 2 years and closed in 2008, right as U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta was finalizing the non-prosecution agreement that let Epstein plead guilty to a single state charge, serve 13 months in a county jail with work release privileges, basically just stay at home and then walk away entirely from the federal charges, all the while still being a pedophile sex trafficker, by the way, just in case you guys weren't aware. That's right, Alexander Acosta. Like, these people are, there's no, imagine being that guy. What are you known for? Oh, I'm the guy who got Epstein off. What? Must be one good lawyer. The second investigation was also ICE, out of Las Vegas, and opened in 2009, a year after the non-prosecution agreement was already signed. The OCD ETF memo lists its status as pending as of January 27th, 2010. After that date, none. No public record of what happened to it, no charges, no closure, no notice, nothing like that, no explanation for why it appears in the file and then just stops. The third, by the way, also ICE Paris. It was opened in June 2013 under something called Operation Angel Watch, which was a program specifically designed to monitor international travel by registered sex offenders. And Epstein was a registered sex offender. He was traveling internationally. The investigation opened and closed within months. Let me guess, because they didn't find anything. It'd be good to know. It'd be really good to know, to know the status of these investigations that implicate basically everyone in our government and that controls our country and the world pretty much. It'd be really good to know. I'd really like to know more. As a person who pays taxes to this system, I'd really like to know more. I don't know if that's just me, though. Then there's the FBI. The Bureau opened its investigation in 2006, the same year as ICE West Palm Beach. 9 years later, when the OCD ETF memo was written in 2015, that FBI investigation was still listed as active. So 9 years of being technically open. But when the Southern District of New York brought the sex trafficking case that put Epstein behind bars in 2009, those prosecutors told CBS News that they were entirely unaware of the FBI investigation that had been running for over a decade. And let me guess, the FBI didn't know either. An active FBI case on Jeffrey Epstein existed in the same federal system where prosecutors charged him, and they had no idea that it was there. And also, the FBI now, Kash Patel, dude. All 5 of these investigations are compiled in the same 69-page memo. The OCD ETF Fusion Center put them all in one document. Thank you. Whoever read that memo in 2015 could see every agency that had tried and every agency that had failed, with an exception of the FBI, whose investigation was still pending and active. ICE West Palm Beach died during the sweetheart deal. ICE Las Vegas vanished without explanation. ICE Paris opened and shut within months. FBI ran for 13 years, produced nothing. The DEA Operation Chain Reaction, 5 years, judicial pending, silence. Not a single one resulted in charges against Epstein, guys. Now, I can understand maybe 1 or 2 or even 3 investigations failing due to bureaucratic difficulty. That's bureaucracy. 5 investigations failing over 4 agencies over the span of 13 years with the sweetheart deal, everyone turning the other way. The people that are saying this is nothing are fools. They're fools. It is just so clear. You are a fool. If you think this is a Democrat hoax, you're a idiot, okay? You have a worm in your brain. I'm saying it from an honest, rational, reasonable, all things considered, all things pondered perspective, an objective perspective. If you think it is a Democratic hoax, you're a idiot. And if you didn't say anything about it when the other administration was in charge, you are also a idiot. This is a real thing that implicates all the people that are powerful, pretty much, seems like, and has victims and survivors. It's real. It's real. It should have been investigated long ago. It's crazy. It's really confusing. During all these years of these investigations, it's not like Epstein was hiding like Ghislaine was. Ghislaine Maxwell, she was hiding before they caught her. Epstein was active during this time. 2013, 2014, 2015. He was not hiding. He was not laying low while 5 federal agencies had open files with his name on them. He was doing business at the highest levels of international finance, meeting with some of the most powerful banking families on earth and negotiating consulting contracts worth tens of millions of dollars. This was not quiet back channel arrangements. Some of these deals involve settlements with the U.S. Department of Justice itself. Epstein, while under active DEA surveillance for drug trafficking and money laundering, was brokering negotiations that had the DOJ on the other side of the motherfucking table, guys. One part of the federal government was building a criminal case against a man for money laundering, and a different part of the same government was a party to financial negotiations that he was helping broker. Just make it make sense, really, is all I'm asking, because there's nothing that you can research or look at that is unredacted that can make it make sense. Now, I know I've said it 4 times already in this video, maybe 5. But it gets even stranger and more conspiratorial. How about the Rothschild Connection? The banking dynasty is the Edmund de Rothschild Group based in Switzerland. In December 2015, the Edmund de Rothschild Bank reached a $45.2 million settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice under what's called the Swiss Bank Program. The bank had been helping American clients hide assets and evade taxes. Guess who was helping? Jeffrey Epstein was helping. He was literally bumping uglies with the DOJ while our government was investigating him for evil shit, helping these people. Dozens of Swiss banks settled under the same program. On October 5th, 2015, Ariane de Rothschild, the CEO of the Edmund de Rothschild Group, personally signed a consulting contract with Southern Trust Company, one of Epstein's entities in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The contract had a sliding scale fee if the settlement came in under $75 million. Epstein's fee would be $25 million, and if the settlement was between $75 and $150 million, his fee dropped to $10 million. The settlement landed in at $45.2 million, which, under the contract Ariane de Rothschild personally signed, would have triggered a $25 million payout to Epstein's entity in the Virgin Islands. A convicted sex offender registered with the state of Florida under active DEA investigation and FBI investigation for drug trafficking and money laundering stood to collect $25 million for brokering a deal between a Rothschild bank and the United States Department of Justice. What? I mean, huh? I'm gonna run around naked. What else am I supposed to do? Literally. I don't even understand anymore. Oh yeah, and by the way, remember that Operation Chain Reaction? That was judicial pending. That's dated May 18th, 2015. The Rothschild consulting contract was signed 5 months later. The DOJ settlement was finalized 7 months after that. And this is not a one-time arrangement, by the way. Over 1,000 DOJ documents link Epstein and Ariane de Rothschild across a 5-year period. They were really good friends. From 2013 to her last documented contact in 2019, the year he was arrested and died. You may be thinking, was he just in the Department of Justice himself, walking in there, just, you know, under the Trump admin? No. He had a go-between. He had a mole, pretty much, and she came from the White House. Kathy Rumler. She served as President Obama's White House counsel from 2011 to 2014, the longest-serving White House counsel of the Obama presidency. After leaving the White House, she joined the law firm Latham & Watkins, and by August 2014, 2 months after stepping down as the president's top lawyer, Epstein was asking her to represent his client, the Edmund de Rothschild Bank. On July 31st, 2015, Rumler sent Epstein a formal retention letter on Latham & Watkins letterheads, confirming his role as a consultant on the Rothschild account. Workflow is visible in the emails. Ariane de Rothschild wrote to Epstein, quote, "Can Kathy give you our slight chickas ESP numbers?" That's how I imagine Ariane de Rothschild talks. From July 2014 to May 2019, Rumler met with Epstein on dozens of occasions, and she referred to him in emails as, quote, Uncle Jeffrey. She received luxury gifts from him after his sex crime conviction, a Hermes handbag, a Fendi coat, spa days at upscale hotels in Washington and New York. You know, it has to be worth it, you know, to have a rotting soul. It has to be worth it. Her legal fees from the Rothschild deal alone were approximately $10 million. What the $10 million for legal fees? Are you kidding me? She eventually became Goldman Sachs' chief legal officer in 2020. And when the Epstein email surfaced in 2026, she resigned. She resigned. But obviously, the emails go further. December 11th, 2015, 1 week before the DOJ settlement was finalized, Epstein sent Rothschild a numbered action list, 7 points, written like some fella issuing directives to some kind of subordinate, Ariane de Rothschild. Point 1, let's get this closed. The settlement was finalized 1 week later. Point 2, have Kathy meet with David and his people. He was deploying Rumler to negotiate with David de Rothschild's branch of the family, the less inbred side, I imagine. Point 5, do we use DOJ and its harsh language to remove Benjamin? That's Benjamin de Rothschild, Ariane Rothschild's husband. He held the controlling interest in the Edmund de Rothschild's group. Epstein was proposing to use the Department of Justice settlement language as a tool to remove him from his position. Ariane de Rothschild's response to the 7-point email was 45 MIO. And then deep thanks for your amazing help. She also has a lower than average IQ. There's emails of her doing an IQ test that's hilariously embarrassing. The richest people in the world are so dumb. By the way, if you don't understand banking, it's because they don't want you to understand banking and money. Like, I sound like a child saying this stuff, but legitimately, all of these things are so simple. These concepts are so simple. If you can program, you are more intelligent than a banker. I promise. You have figured something out more complicated than a banker. If you can write a cohesive narrative in a story that people like, you are more intelligent than a banker. These people are not smart. These people, their job, not difficult. It's just peacocking, really. They should be the first replaced by AI, to be honest with you. There is nothing that a banker can do that an AI cannot do better. No offense to any bankers or whatever. But like, let's be real. By the way, 5 months later, on May 21st, 2016, Epstein sent another email to Rothschild, quote, "Let's talk summer camps for girls." Ariane de Rothschild has 4 daughters, by the way. The phrase most likely refers to her children, but it was written by a convicted sex offender who was being paid $25 million to manage her bank's DOJ exposure while the DEA had an open case on him for, trafficking, money laundering, you name it. Now, there's also other names on the memo, 14 names. This DEA memo has, all redacted, but there's one name that wasn't supposed to be visible. It was a redaction error. And when you see who it is and what the DEA flagged them for, it's going to raise some other questions about the other 13 that no one has answered yet. The name is Mariana Itzkowska. She's a Polish fashion model who was 28 or 29 years old during her documented contact with Epstein in 2014 and 2015. CBS News, when they broke the DEA story, honored her attorney's request not to identify her, but other outlets, the New Public Polish Radio, published her name after finding it in the unredacted portion of the memo. And what the DEA flagged was approximately $2 million in wire transfers associated with her name. So to put that into context, the total unified suspicious activity reports across Epstein's entire network came to 5.67 million. One person out of the 15 targets accounted for more than a third of the flagged financial activity. According to Polish Radio's investigation, Itzkowska exchanged dozens of emails with Epstein in 2014 and 2015, spoke with him frequently over Skype, flew to New York at his expense, and traveled with him on a 2014 trip to Vancouver, and visited Little St. James, the rape island. Jeffrey's estate manager, Janusz Banasiak, was instructed to arrange her airport transport. Her attorney told CBS News that she was, quote, a survivor of Epstein, but the DEA did not list her as a victim. The DEA listed her as a target, one of the 15 people under active investigation for drug trafficking and money laundering, with $2 million in flagged wire transfers attached to her name. Polish Radio noted that the fact her name wasn't redacted suggests that U.S. authorities did not consider her a victim, though the documents themselves contain no indication she did anything wrong. Now, we're going to get into the more conspiratorial aspect of this. The unit that held the Operation Chain Reaction files was called the OCD ETF Fusion Center. It was based in Virginia. I talked about this in the very top of the video. OCD ETF, the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Forces, was created by presidential order in 1982 under Ronald Reagan. For 43 years, it was the federal government's most powerful organized crime unit, with 37,200 investigations, 321,000 convictions, and $13.4 billion in seized assets. Operated across all 93 federal judicial districts with more than 500 federal prosecutors, 1,200 federal agents, and 5,000 state and local police officers. The Fusion Center in Virginia, this place was the nerve center, the place where the financial intelligence data, transaction records, and investigative profiles were stored. When OCD ETF investigated someone, the Fusion Center built a financial map, wire transfer patterns, and account networks, criminal associations. They built the brain map connecting all of the aspects of potential crime and investigations of that said crime. Now, what they had included 5 years of data from Operation Chain Reaction, the wire transfers, the target profiles, financial maps of Jeffrey Epstein's network. That's what was in the building when the order came to shut it down. Okay, and you're not going to believe when. All right. On March 6, 2025, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche issued a memo redirecting OCD ETF to something called Operation Take Back America. The memo stated, quote, Operation Take Back America requires that the OECD ETF surge existing resources to address enforcement priorities, stopping illegal immigration, eliminating cartels and transnational criminal organizations. So yeah, pretty much what, has been happening over the last year. On July 23rd, 2025, OECD ETF was ordered to transfer all 5,000 plus active cases to an organization that did not exist yet, the Homeland Security Task Forces. On October 31st, 2025, OCD ETF was officially dissolved. The DOJ said that it would save the department $11 million. So, the department, the entity that had 43 years of organized crime infrastructure, 37,000 investigations, was dissolved to save $11 million. It's less than $300 per investigation they conducted. Seems like a good deal, to be honest. So why'd they shut it down? Probably because of their investigations. They were investigating those people. So 19 days later, on November 19th, 2025, the Epstein Files Transparency Act was signed into law, passed the House 427-1. That guy. I think his reason was rational, all right, but still that guy. I just like saying that guy. The legislation that would require the release of the Epstein files held across all federal agencies. Luckily, one of them that had a lot of information is no longer around. The law became effective 19 days after the unit that held the most sensitive financial information into Jeffrey Epstein, it was shut down. Now, I'm not telling you they're connected, but I'm also heavily implying it. Now, also conveniently, just after the Epstein investigation Chain Reaction was initially launched, there was another one with the same name. And when you Google Operation Chain Reaction, it just shows up with that. It's a bunch of counterfeit electronic bullshit. Somehow that's more important and relatable to people than the investigation into a convicted sex offender's $50 million money laundering network that is effectively invisible to any standard search and was just pretty much accidentally released by the DOJ. Anyways, pretty disturbing, to be honest with you. Also, NPR's investigation into all the stuff that just has gone missing from the Epstein files, still available at Jmail if you guys want to check anything like that out. Yeah, the end times are nigh. Apparently, Donald Trump was anointed by, according to the commanders of our military, Donald Trump was anointed by God to bring about the end times in Armageddon. Yeah, so that's pretty good news. Anyways, see y'all in the next one.